That was beautiful. Gracias. Anne and I are part of a group called the Columbus Group. Have you heard of the Columbus Group? Have you heard of asynchronous development or giftedness as asynchrony? That's the Columbus Group definition. And we follow in the footsteps of two great leaders, one who began the field of gifted education, and that's Lita Hollingworth. She was the one who started the field. And Annemarie Roeper, who also was very child-centered and was Anne's mentor. And I just wanted to just briefly introduce Anne's work by talking about the two leaders who influenced us the most. There was an article that Michael Piechowski and Barry Grant wrote on it was called Theories Toward the Good, I think, and it was about child-centered torchbearers in education. And went all the way back to Quintilian and Comenius and Rousseau and Montessori, and went up to Lita Hollingworth and Annemarie Roeper as the two people in gifted education who represented the child-centered philosophy. And they're the two people who have influenced us the most. It's hard for me not to talk about Lita Hollingworth because I want her to be remembered. She wrote the first book and taught the first course and was the first counselor of the gifted. And she's not a name. How many of you have heard of her? Well, one. But she's so worth remembering. She created a program for the gifted in New York City called the Spire School. And Annemarie created a school for the gifted called the Roeper School in Michigan. And so they came up with how to teach the gifted as well as how to understand them. But in addition to all of her work with the gifted, Lita Hollingworth was a very strong feminist, and she was considered the scientific bulwark of the suffragette movement. Women got the right to vote in the United States partially because she proved that women were equal in intelligence to men. And she's forgotten. I don't think we need to forget that. I think we need to remember that. So Annemarie and Lita never met, but their philosophies are so similar, it's quite amazing. And she had the Roeper School. It has lived for 76 years in Michigan. It's a beautiful child-centered environment. And there's a journal called Roeper Review, which has articles about the gifted. And she wrote a wonderful book called Educating Children for Life, the Modern Learning Community. That book has been reissued, republished, so it's still available. It's how to create a child-centered environment for the gifted. And she had a self-actualization interdependent model that she shared with Anne most of all. She developed the Global Awareness Network at our National Association for Gifted Children, and Anne and I have both served as the program chair. And we think of her as our philosopher. And she always, always talked about the importance of emotions. Very important. And she and Michael Piechowski worked together toward the end of her life. And he was the one who brought overexcitability. So she worked with that, and she was a member of the Columbus group. So these are very special people. They loved their gardens. We had many meetings in Annemarie's garden, and this picture of Annemarie was taken at right next to her garden. And this is a film clip from Lita Hollingworth's garden. And they both adored gifted children. A garden is not a competition. Oh, the tallest flower is not the most prized. The profusion of diverse varieties, colors, shapes, sizes, growth patterns, and fragrances make a garden interesting and inviting. Every garden is unique, as is every flower in the garden. And Lita and Annemarie appreciated the uniqueness of each blossom. Their legacy to all of us is the philosophy of child-centeredness. And I think you might want to know what that is. What is child-centeredness? It is an I-thou relationship with a child, which honors this unique individual's equal rights, personal qualities, feelings, ideas, preferences, learning style, interests. It conveys to the child, you are important, much more important than your grades, than your potential, than the future direction of your life. You are worth listening to. I want to know what you feel and what you think. I am interested in you as a person. From a child-centered perspective, childhood is not preparation for life. Well, what happened here? Okay, then. It is life. We may need new batteries for this, so it'll work for you? New batteries? Every moment of a child's life is precious. And Barry Grant and Michael Piahowski wrote this article in which they talked about the importance of child-centeredness. They said, first and foremost, we have to be child-centered, not as lip service, but wholeheartedly. Being child-centered means respecting children's autonomy, providing experiences that enable children to follow their passions and be self-actualizing, and seeking to understand things from the child's point of view. The strongest argument for child-centeredness is that it regards children as ends, not means. It provides conditions for children to flourish, become themselves, and it does not impose a way of being on them. An understanding of the child's perspective and inner life aids us in assisting children to find their own way in life. And in the article, Lita Hollingworth was described as having this purpose in her educational philosophy: to assist gifted children's sensory, intellectual, emotional, and aesthetic development at appropriate mental level and pace of instruction. And the role of the teacher was to facilitate learning and emotional growth, to assist with the problems arising out of the disparities between mental and chronological age. So when we talk about asynchronous development, that echoes Lita Hollingworth's viewpoint of the disparities between mental and chronological age. And this is what Annemarie taught Anne to do in a special kind of qualitative assessment, to really see children. Gracias. She taught Anne how to evaluate gifted children without any tests, just to use herself and to really see the child. Have you ever been really seen? Not for your potential, not for what you do for others, but for who you are. That was Lita Hollingworth's and Annemarie's gifts to gifted children, their enduring legacy. And this is what she wants, Annemarie wants, what Lita Hollingworth wants us to give to the gifted children in our lives. Lita Hollingworth wrote this at the age of 21. But it is a fancy of mine that all creative souls die with some necessary vision unuttered in their hearts, and that they wait wishfully, watching those who that have yet the privilege of life to see whether someone will not utter it. Of course, they die with many things unsaid. It is unthinkable that Carlyle or Emerson or Elizabeth Browning had said all they could say before they died. They were obliged to leave much unexpressed. And then likely there were things they never could have expressed at all because they were not the proper mediums. There are seers yet to come. And I introduce Anne Beneventi to you as one of those seers. When we discover our roots, we embrace gifted children with our hearts. We see them, we see who they really are, and we enable them to truly see themselves. And when we do that, we indelibly change the course of their lives. And that is what Anne does. She changes children's lives. And this is Lita Hollingworth, who tested children, and that was her in her psychology lab. So I wanted to do that just to introduce Anne to you.
Thank you, Linda.
And she follows in their footsteps.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here and talk to you about my favorite topic, gifted children, and especially their emotional development. When I was trained by Annemarie to interact with children, it's about pulling back your own agenda so the child's can emerge. And you want to first see who is this child, and then you want to see them in the context of giftedness. So we're looking for evidence of giftedness. Are they gifted? How gifted? And how do we know? And when I say how gifted, a moderately gifted child presents differently than a profoundly gifted child. And we can see all of this through their emotional life. And Annemarie made no distinction between the intellect and the emotions. She felt like they couldn't be separated, that even intellectual drive or intellectual curiosity is an emotional need. Is that on the right? Yeah, okay. The goal is to assist the gifted to be internally integrated and socially connected. So it starts with gifted children being connected to who they really are, and then connecting to others and the greater world. And we're always trying to help with this integration process. And Annemarie talked about the inner essence, which she called the self of the child. And the self of the child is who we really are, and it's the intact piece of all of us. And so we want to see that aspect and help children connect to that. This is a quote by Stephen Pressfield. Our job in this lifetime is not to shape ourselves into some ideal we imagine we ought to be, but to find out who we already are and become it. So even though the self is the hidden part of us, it's the coherence. Another quote by Annemarie: "The emotions grow out of their greater cognitive awareness, which translates into feelings." And it's really important to understand this, because gifted children, because they do have a greater awareness and they develop their intellect earlier than other children, it really drives their personality development. A quote by Linda Silverman: "The intricate thought processes that mark these individuals as gifted are mirrored in the intricacy of their emotional development." So we also see very complex emotional lives. When the gifted experience a situation, they superimpose it on their remembrance of past experiences and their projection of future ramifications. Memory plays a big role in this, because they have such acute memories. They often draw on these memories to predict what's going to happen, and then their abstract reasoning ability helps them to predict. And so part of what we want to do is have them examine that pattern to see if that's the way it happened in the past, does it necessarily mean it's going to be the same in the future? So being gifted is who they are. It's not only who they are at school or any aspect, it permeates every aspect of their life. And their nature, their gifted nature, should not be seen as a deficit. They need to be listened to, and their reality needs to be validated. And that's what I'm going to be talking a lot about. And then assisted in developing appropriate responses. This is the Columbus Group definition that Linda was speaking about, that giftedness is asynchronous development or uneven development. They're uneven within themselves, they have strengths and weaknesses, but they're also asynchronous when compared to their age peers. So they're out of sync socially as well as internally. So it's their advanced cognitive ability combined with their emotional intensity to create an internal experience that's qualitatively different from the norm. And to understand these children, we need to understand their perceptions of the world and their experience of the world. So this is a child, Katie, who went to kindergarten reading. Sorry. She was having a very difficult time connecting with her age peers, and she was having, just talking to the teachers at school. She was reading on a third grade level when she entered school, so her school was willing to accelerate her, but then she found that the children who were her age had more life experience, were stronger physically, and more capable physically. So what happened to this child is she never got validated with the outside world. Accelerating a child into a higher grade level can help with academics, but they're still out of sync, even with older children. Ideally, they need other gifted peers. And again, Lita Hollingworth noticed that in gifted children, they were asking questions about origin and destiny. And this happens very young in a gifted child. They're asking about, I think even their interest in dinosaurs and wanting to know where they came from, but also having these questions that really take advanced abstract reasoning ability about death and dying and what happens to us after we die. These are more advanced earlier than their age peers. And when they're required to interact with their chronological peers, those children have no understanding of the issues that are troubling a gifted child. Our social connections shape brain development and is vital to our survival. This is evolutionary survival need for us to connect socially. And finding our place in the social fabric is a step toward finding our place in the universe. So when we talk about identity narrative, children are constructing the narrative of their life to create their own identities. The second part of the Columbus Group definition says, this asynchrony increases with higher intellectual capacity. So the higher the gifted, the more uneven development we see. The uniqueness of the gifted renders them particularly vulnerable and requires modifications in parenting, teaching, and counseling in order for them to develop optimally. So there's a vulnerability with these children because they are out of sync. Another quote from Linda, semblances of composure and self-assurance often mask deep feelings of insecurity. The inner experience of the young, gifted person is rich, complex, and turbulent. So they might look like they're just doing fine, and often there's the perception that they're doing fine because they're doing fine academically. But inside, they could be just reeling emotionally. To a child, being different is equated with being strange and unacceptable. Camouflaging, masking, and blending are all strategies to escape social isolation. And we often see this in young girls, beginning even in preschool, where they will look at everybody and figure out how to behave, and then they act like everybody else. We've had children who are drawing incredibly advanced pictures, and they go to school and they start scribbling. And they say, well, this is what we do at preschool. And so with gifted girls, it's really important to give them some reflection of other children who are like them or more advanced children. The pattern, most likely in gifted boys, is that they'll rebel, and then they get people's attention, and often changes can be made. But with girls, they go underground. In order to promote authenticity, which is what we want, a child can only feel like they really belong if they can be themselves. And incongruent lives are not sustainable. So acting like somebody else is not sustainable, and it can cause numbing, addiction, and unhealthy perfectionism. Part of this is really evolutionary. In our 3,000-year-old brain, the responses are either fight, flight, or freeze. So approach if there was food or for mating, avoid if there was danger, or freeze. And so we want to look at that as a tendency when children don't feel safe. Once our brains developed enough to have consciousness, that's when we started to see the self-awareness, the free will, the development of empathy and creativity and curiosity. This is with the prefrontal cortex was developed, the higher level thinking strategies. So our prefrontal cortex is the controller of everything and kind of brings together all the different areas of the brain. The limbic system is the emotional part of our brain, and the survival state or the brain stem is the oldest, and it's just concerned with survival. So we're wired for fear if we don't feel safe, and we're wired to explore, because in the higher regions of the brain is when that was developed, we started to explore just out of curiosity. But we need the situation to be familiar, coherent, and accessible. So what that means is when children start to feel like something is off, or there is confusion or rigidity, is what we see when their world doesn't make sense to them. And it's reaching out to something new, but if there's any aspect that feels fearful, we go into the lower range of the brain regions and start to go into the more fight or flight. Also, our brain is divided into two hemispheres. We have the left hemisphere that's more concerned with speech and logic, reasoning, the linear aspects, time, objectivity, rhythm, where the right hemisphere is tone, emotion, the intuition, the spatial areas, the ability to be present and in present time, and subjectivity and melody. So when we interact with a child with emotions, we want to first approach them on the right hemisphere and show them some empathy and connect to the empathetic part of them, and then go into the left hemisphere that's more concerned with figuring it out and understanding it in a more linear way. The idea is to create some distance between the impulse and the action, or the feeling and the response, in order to gain perspective. So if you have a child who is very reactionary, you want to not start reasoning with them and expecting them to be rational about it. You first want to engage them with the empathy and the right hemisphere, so that they can first be heard, because then they can be soothed. And then the next step is to understand what happened or what they could have done differently. Again, the right hemisphere is the empathetic part of our brain, and empathy is a complex cognitive process that allows us to imagine the minds of another. This is mediated by the right hemisphere and the prefrontal cortex of the brain. There's a lot of talk about empathy these days, and I think it's a really important human tool to develop and to help develop it in our children, because it's the key to social relationships, which are so important, but also to approach the world in a way that's not destructive. And we need more empathy on the planet. There's been so much happening with mindful meditation in terms of neuroscience. in terms of what's happening in the brain as an integrative force. So mindfulness meditation is a way to, which we just did, to go internally and focus on your internal world rather than the outer experience without judgment. And this has been proven to connect the hemispheres of the brain, which is really crucially important because sometimes the left hemisphere just takes over and they're looking for a reason and they want to just have everything figured out, but the empathy gets overshadowed. And mindfulness meditation also connects the brain's, the different areas inside the brain. So creates that connectivity so that children are not just left in their lower regions of the brain, in the fear or the pure emotion without the rational brain. We need it all. So this has been a really powerful tool. We teach it at my school, just teaching kids to go inside, even if it's for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, in silence, to help reconnect these aspects of the brain. Emotional development is healthy when children are seen for who they are without judgment. They're free to experience the full range of emotions without punishment. So it's very important for children to be able to have their emotions and to make the distinction between it's okay to feel like that, but then what actions are you going to take? And to see emotions as transient, as teachers, as the emotions are there to give us information about something that's important to us, and that it's not who you are. So even teaching children to say, I'm having the feeling of fear, instead of saying, I'm afraid. So you're trying to create space so that they're not so identified. And then they're trying to look at, what is this emotion telling you? We understand that you're mad, but what is it telling you about your needs? And it also takes, it's important to help children face their emotions and to go through the difficult emotions and to have courage. So courage is not the absence of fear. It means being afraid, but moving forward also. And the goal is that children will choose courage over comfort and not avoid. And when we confront the pain of a situation, we can move through the experience and resolve it. So sometimes people feel like they can take these short-term fixes to deny emotions. Oh, you're not feeling like that, or rushing in to fix something that's happening for a child. But what happens is if you pretend like emotion isn't there, it will come out in unintended ways. Another short-term fix is stewing about your emotions. So this is typically more of a female response where we want to process the emotions and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and then think about the future. She'll say this, then I'll say this, then she'll say this, and going through this whole scenario. But that doesn't really resolve it either. It's really important to teach children to name their emotions and develop a vocabulary for emotions so that it helps them to make sense of the issues. Trouble with naming emotion is correlated with psychosomatic issues. So children will start having stomach aches. Something will get expressed through the body because they're not able to express it verbally. And then when they don't have a nuanced and wide variety of words for emotions, then everything will get expressed as anger. So the child will say, I'm mad, or I'm angry. And then you delve a little deeper and you say, well, are you feeling lonely? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling, what really is it? But anger or being mad often is what comes to the surface. Gifted children also need to have their reality not only mirrored, but understood. I've often met with parents who their child is very frustrated in school, and bringing home, like let's say they have really strong ability in math, and they're bringing home these math worksheets for homework, and very, very bored. The work is way below their ability level. And the parents are showing me this, and I'll say, so what do you say to your child about this frustration? And they say, I don't want to say anything because I don't want him to feel worse. But really, mirroring this for your child is very important, to reflect what you think is going on inside of them. So I encourage parents to say, I know this work is too easy for you. I know it's boring. And to be able to amplify that, that builds emotional empathy in the child too. It's also to create more of this distance with feelings. It's important to approach them with curiosity. I wonder why you're feeling like that. What makes you, and have some distance yourself if possible. Of course, if the parent or teacher is charged, then everybody's in their left hemisphere and their lower brain regions. But if you can have some distance and come to it with a sense of curiosity, and then to look at, I wonder why, and what could we do? What do you think you could do that could make this better? And children usually have very good solutions. If a child comes home and they're frustrated that they have no friends in school, I've seen parents, rush to fix it, or say, "Oh, I'll be your friend. Let's go play together," or to deny it and say, "Oh, you're just hungry. You're okay. You don't feel like that." This is really destructive to the well-being of the child. It's much better to talk about it, and after you empathize, talk about, well, what could we do? What could you do that could possibly help you connect? Self-acceptance is a huge part of this. Accepting what is in the world, because some things you really can't change, but also accepting who you are. And then also building self-compassion. To look at things, again, with curiosity and with some distance. And giving ourselves opportunities to fail, and not seeing failure as the end of the world, but more as a learning opportunity. People who are self-compassionate with the way that they are with themselves, but also children who have self-compassion for themselves, they take better physical care and are healthier. We want children to be autonomous. There's a difference between autonomy and independence. Because to be independent and do what you want to do based on peer pressure or obsessions or compulsions, that's not autonomous. Autonomy is honoring children for who they are, not who you want them to be. And a way that you can encourage that is to give them true choices. whenever possible. And if it's not possible to give them a choice, explain why. Just saying, because I said so, it doesn't build autonomy, and so it's always good to give them a rationale. And also to minimize external rewards. There's been so much research about rewards and punishments and how destructive they are to encouraging autonomy. They're really great for short-term fixes. They might it's like training a dog, where they might learn the behaviors and do it for that little time, but we're not always going to be there when children have difficult choices to make, and we really want children to be able to have a sense of values and make choices based on what's right and what's right for them. So in terms of developing values, values are something that is freely chosen by the person. They're not imposed. They're used as a guide, but not an absolute rule. And when somebody has a value, it frees them from social comparison. The whole thing of social peer pressure and the need for social comparison, the need for social connection is so strong that sometimes it really drives behavior. As I said, it's an evolutionary need, and especially in adolescence, to feel like you're accepted, to feel like you're part of the group. That's why sometimes children act like it's a life and death situation that they need to participate in some activity or have some certain jeans or shoes or something like that needs to be taken seriously. Not that you need to buy them whatever's the latest fashion, but to understand that this is something that's really, really important. But once children start to develop values, then they're coming from their own understanding of what's right for them, and they're not as swayed by peer pressure. And values change, they're active. The same with moral development. Moral development is a set of values that are the children's own, with which they live in accordance with. So it's much better for a child to do something that they think is morally correct within themselves, rather than doing something that they'll know they'll be punished for if they don't, or something like that. The way we've learned to handle our emotions is a predictor of lifelong success, and the most powerful predictor of a child's future experience is in coherence of their life's narrative. So where they have an understanding of who they are and the outer world makes sense and it's integrated, and within themselves they're integrated. I'll end with a quote by Annemarie Roeper. There's a gold mine of hidden creativity in each of these children, which can blossom into spiritual, emotional, creative, and scientific growth. We need to build bridges between the inner world of the individual and the outer world of society. So instead of changing children to be who we want them to be, it's better to understand who they are and help them negotiate life, but based on who they truly are. Thank you. I didn't have my presenter view.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Bien, ahora Muchas gracias, Anne. Muchas gracias, Linda. Ahora vamos a tener un ratito para compartir con Anne, Linda, con Raquel
We're
sus
going to
experiencias,
take
vuestras
questions.
preguntas.
Let's see if I can understand them better this way. Okay. We've talked at you for a long time. And now it's your turn. What questions do you have for us? Yes.
Hablando de la sobreexcitabilidad, ¿qué relación tiene con la gente paz? Con las personas altamente sensibles.
This isn't on. Will you translate?
Yeah, the overexcitabilities, what kind of relationship can have with the people who live with intensity, emotional intensity, that kind of people who are...
I think she's talking about highly sensitive people. Can you not get this in
No,
English?
I'm not getting
Channel
it.
2? Here.
Am I in the wrong place?
I think she
Las
means
pilas,
highly sensitive
como antes.
people.
Okay.
So, Anne, you can
Yeah.
translate better?
I can, but she's...
No, it's okay.
Do you have it? Oh, she will.
Would you address?
I mean, are you talking about Elaine Aron's work, Highly Sensitive People?
Yes. Yes. With high intensity of emotional...
Sí, sí, la gente, la paz.
I didn't get this.
I think I'm on the right channel now, anyway. The same things we've been saying, we have to understand and allow them to feel their emotions, validate those emotions, that there's not something wrong with them, they're not crazy, they don't have to change. I often ask people, what's the right amount of emotion to have? Should you be able to watch television on the evening news and eat supper at the same time? Is that the right amount? Or is the rest of the world under-emotional? So being too sensitive or too emotional is simply a judgment. And if someone says to me, "You're being too emotional," I might respond because I'm reactive.
No.
Maybe you're not emotional enough.
Can I add to that, Linda? I once asked Elaine Aron, who wrote the books. Yeah, she wrote the book Highly Sensitive People, Elaine Aron. I once asked her, why are you not talking about gifted? You're not using the words gifted. And she said, because some people are highly sensitive, but they don't think they're gifted. And I said, well, I think they are. I really, talking to her about this correlation. But she felt like she would be able to relate to more people if she used the term highly sensitive people rather than specifically gifted. There's also a problem with the label of gifted. There's so many misconceptions about
Right.
gifted, and there's so many bad connotations like superiority or you're better or, you know, and so I think it's definitely an aspect of gifted, but I think she wanted to keep it more general to appeal to a more general group.
I had conversations with her also. I invited Elaine Aaron to keynote our 20th anniversary conference. And I asked her the same question. What she said is that when she was first starting to write about highly sensitive people, she only found 2 people who were writing about it. One was me, and the other was Deirdre Levecki, and we were both writing about the gifted. So she knew that there was a relationship between sensitivity and giftedness, but she wanted a broader audience. So I think highly sensitive people are gifted.
Hola,
Hola.
muy buenos días, encantado de conocerles. A mí se me diagnosticó superdotación hace 2 años y medio, después de así como unos 8 errores de diagnóstico en mi vida. Todo tipo de patologías se me atribuyeron verdaderos premios Nobel de medicina, pero con V en vez de con B. Y yo tengo problemas desde pequeño. Anduve a los 7 meses, no gateé. A los 7 u 8 años empezó la sensación de falta de respiración, mucha hipersensibilidad. Y pues bueno, después pues empezó el peregrinaje por parte de médicos y demás, y nadie sabía. Algunos decían neurosis, algunos decían otros. La hipersensibilidad siempre me ha acompañado, y al mismo tiempo la ansiedad. Y al mismo tiempo la agresividad. Es una contradicción entre la sensibilidad o la hipersensibilidad junto con la agresividad. Supongo que la agresividad algunas veces pues va acompañada por la ansiedad y por la enorme susceptibilidad que tenemos por desgracia nosotros, porque esto es más una desgracia que otra cosa.
Yes.
Entonces, no, es una desgracia, créanme que es una desgracia. Entonces, sí, yo soy abogado y economista, y bueno, pues resuelvo los problemas muy rápidos, pero el problema es que tengo mucha ansiedad. Ese tipo de ansiedad. Y yo duermo poco, tengo que tomar algo para dormir, y aún así duermo 5 horas. Pues si no tomara nada, pues en la carrera llegué a estar sin dormir 3 días, sin dormir por la hiperactividad mental tremenda del hemisferio derecho. Entonces, mi pregunta es, la reducción de la ansiedad, ya que no se me descubrió desde pequeño, porque si desde pequeño se me hubieran dicho, o se lo hubieran dicho a mis padres, no estaría así con 38 años. La reducción de ansiedad y todo esto, porque no hay ninguna pastilla para el parar de pensar, se me queda grabada todas las imágenes. Esto que estoy aquí pues se me va a quedar para toda la vida. Es más, muchas veces no escucho, porque cuando escucho ya lo sé y me aburro. Dabrowski, cuando le escribió esto, las sobrecitabilidades sensoriales, que son 7, en 1970, que hay que hacerle un monumento a este hombre, es porque porque dijo, algo pasa en niños que tienen problemas y entonces pues la llamó esto. Mi pregunta, para cortar el rollo, es ¿cómo se puede reducir la ansiedad y demás? Con la meditación es muy difícil, como ustedes saben. ¿Cómo se puede reducir la ansiedad de esto? Gracias.
Bueno, nadie espera que conteste yo, pero yo voy a decir una pequeña cosa. Como maestra también, yo creo que gran parte de la respuesta frente a la ansiedad es, por ejemplo, dos de las cosas que decían Linda y que decía Anne. Anne, por un lado, decía esa necesidad de enseñar a los niños de alta capacidad a saber definir sus sentimientos. En el momento en el que un niño es capaz de definir sus sentimientos, de entenderlos, de transmitirlos, de hablar de ellos, ya les puede dar cierta paz porque saben dónde situar ese sentimiento, esas sensaciones, cómo reaccionar, y luego la pauta de los adultos les va a ir enseñando a colocar cada cosa en su sitio, a relativizar, bueno, pues a vivir con más calma sus experiencias. El mindfulness me parece que sí que es una opción dentro de las aulas, lo que decían, ellos lo trabajan. Aquí cada vez los profesores yo creo que lo van conociendo más, y yo conozco algunos coles que están teniendo seminarios de formación de mindfulness como técnica para enseñar a los niños a vivir el momento presente, a darse cuenta de las cosas en su justa medida, a ser capaces de encajar y de tener esa resiliencia que también hace unos años apareció mucho en educación. Pero yo creo que tanto Linda como Anne han dado muchas respuestas dentro de su charla a cómo encajar poco a poco esa angustia, esa ansiedad. Sí que es verdad que no se puede hacer, no lo puede hacer uno solo, y mucho menos niños, si no es con la pauta de padres, de profesores, pero yo creo que sí es posible ir encajándola y, no sé, me aventuré.
No, that was good. Dabrowski felt that anxiety was a necessary part of higher level development. And he talked about how gifted people have more anxiety. And the smarter you are, the more anxiety you have. So he saw anxiety as a necessary part of the experience of consciousness, not something to get rid of, not something to feel crazy because you have it, but to be aware that it is a necessary part of the human experience when you are evolving and aware of what's happening in the world. It doesn't give you an answer about what to do about it. I wanted perhaps Anne to think about that, but I wanted you to know that he felt it was essential. Anxiety comes with the territory.
I think also if it's really inhibiting your life, or when I see children, many of the children that I see have anxiety, and I feel like if it's inhibiting their life experience, it is important to find some strategies. I think that there's been so much done with neuroscience and understanding the brain. You can buy different listening programs that shift the brain waves into a more restful state, or even something like hypnosis. You can get these listening programs with hypnosis to bring down the anxiety. And mindfulness, it's difficult if you think that you're going to sit down and focus inward for 30 minutes. But if you can just practice focusing on your breath and bringing your attention back to your breath and just starting with a few minutes, you really can build it and develop this as a skill. And I think it's worthwhile if anybody can work on that as a practice to take control of your brain, your mind.
And I carry Xanax. That's an anti-anxiety medication.
Quick fix. Thank you.
Bueno, pues buenos días y gracias por la charla que nos están dando. Vamos a ver, yo ya tengo un joven adolescente de 19 años, académicamente muy bien, pero desde hace aproximadamente 2 años yo desconocía el tema de la hipersensibilidad y de lo que están ustedes hablando, y notaba en él unas reacciones impropias a pues, las cosas que sucedían, ¿no? En una conversación parecía que le afectaba mucho ciertas cosas que yo consideraba pues, normales, ¿no? Tuve conocimiento de ustedes y todo el estudio que tienen hecho y ahora comprendo un poco más las reacciones que en algunas ocasiones tiene, ¿no? Me hablaron que, bueno, que podía ser de gran ayuda algún tipo de terapia natural, para, digamos, fortalecer ese sistema neuronal, ¿no? Y yo probé con algunas cosas y noté una ligera mejoría. Quería simplemente preguntarles qué opinan ustedes sobre esto, aparte de la relajación y de los sistemas que nos proponen, qué opinan sobre esas opciones que puedan ayudar, si no es al 100%, pues por lo menos un porcentaje elevado, ¿no? Yo, de hecho, le estoy dando perlas, digamos, de estas omega 3, 6, 9 para el cerebro y yo encuentro mejoría. Mejoría. También le he dado en determinadas épocas en exámenes triptófano y le encuentro mejoría. ¿Hasta qué punto ustedes lo aconsejan, aparte de los tratamientos psicológicos y de afuera, digamos, de alguna manera? Pues de esa forma, ¿no? Porque, bueno, me gustan esas terapias, pero no sé hasta qué punto sean buenas o efectivas a largo plazo. Gracias.
I'm a big believer in omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids, especially for ADHD symptoms. They help mood stabilizing for children with childhood bipolar disorder, manic depressive symptoms. They're good stabilizers, mood stabilizers. Tryptophan, I don't know. Maybe. But you can also get these things in foods. Omega-3, omega-6 in salmon, tryptophan in turkey. And I do believe that foods can make a difference. I feel that the foods you eat in Spain, and Anne has said this over and over again since we got here, you eat healthier foods as a country. You prepare healthier foods than we eat in the United States. It's hard to find healthy food in the United States. But here, you have healthy food everywhere. And I think it really makes a difference. So I believe that food is a good thing to pay attention to when you come to natural things. I've seen that many gifted children have food sensitivities, and that if you try getting rid of certain things in their diet and just see what impact that has, that can make a big difference. In the highly and exceptionally gifted children that we've worked with, 160 IQ and above, a very large number of them were allergic to milk, dairy, sensitive to dairy. We've seen a lot of gifted children who were sensitive to wheat. We've seen a lot of gifted children where when dairy and wheat were both removed from the diet, the child's behavior changed overnight. We've seen children who are allergic to corn, and there is, in our processed foods, a lot of Americans eat poorly prepared foods with lots of additives.
Well, it's genetically modified.
Genetically modified, but also a lot of our foods, our fast foods, have corn syrup as a hidden ingredient. And so a lot of our children are sensitive to corn, and they can't eat prepared foods that you buy at the grocery store in America because they're full of corn syrup. The other thing that I've seen, I don't know whether this fits as a natural or not, but there's something I would like to recommend to all of you for your children. Sensory integration therapy. It's done by occupational therapists for young children in particular who are very sensitive, very easily overstimulated, anxious, moody, uncoordinated. This therapy, or any type of therapy that works like this, takes the left side of the body and the right side of the body and integrates the body. That integrates the left hemisphere with the right hemisphere. That integrates the eyes with the hands and improves handwriting. It improves sports. It improves knowing where you are in space, where your body is in space. It's a very good thing to do with a child who seems to be developing unusually and who has some strange reactions that you don't understand. That's the first thing I tell parents to do. Take your child to an occupational therapist and try sensory integration therapy. We've seen some big differences with it.
I wonder if she was asking about something like brainwave biofeedback or something.
I don't know.
The natural therapies, which were you thinking of? Were you thinking of some kind of brainwave biofeedback or something?
No, lo relacionaba un poco como una especie de alimento cerebral o ayuda para esas conexiones neuronales.
Feed the brain, okay.
Y luego después, por otra parte, ya aprovechando que tengo el micrófono, quería preguntarles un poco, en determinadas ocasiones, cuando se producen estos desajustes emocionales con ese exceso de ansiedad, en ese momento, esa duración, 1 hora, 2 horas, ¿cómo debe actuar la familia en ese momento? A pesar del conocimiento que se tiene de esa hipersensibilidad, en ese momento, pues, ¿cómo debe actuar uno, no? O sea, dejarlo estar, hablarle, hacer algún tipo de comentario, no hacer ningún comentario. ¿Cómo se debe actuar? Gracias.
Well, I don't really know your child or the situation, but in general, when he's in the middle of feeling any kind of overload and you feel like he's maybe out of control or something, that it's too extreme, I don't really know what you're seeing, but something like that, you have to first empathize. he's not in a place where he can access his prefrontal lobe and be rational with it. It's difficult to answer not knowing the person or.
So you have to take time. Your timing of a discussion is very important. Sometimes you have to wait 24 hours for them to calm down before you talk about it at all. And I believe in family meetings. We used to do that in my family once a week. Everyone would sit down Sunday night after dinner, and we would talk about our feelings, anything that was bothering us, and everyone would feel heard. Everyone would feel listened to. And children, especially gifted children, need to feel respected in their families, not disempowered, but respected for their feelings and their thoughts and their ideas. And so having a chance every week for the family to sit down and talk about their feelings really help family relations.
I think also you could ask the person, after he's calmed down, how do you want me to support you if that happens? And
very
ask
good.
him for what he wants, strategies. Does he want to be left alone?
Yeah, that's good.
Es que yo creo aquí tenemos mucha tendencia, o ha habido mucha tendencia a, muchas veces en el ámbito educativo, hablando también de resiliencia y de cosas así, hay veces que nos hemos movido en estrategias que no han sido las mejores por enseñar a los niños a saber afrontar determinadas cosas y olvidamos muchas veces, como padres y como profesores, que la mejor manera de hacer a un niño adulto y autónomo es escucharlo y permitirle esos espacios en los que él hable y en los que él se explique, porque a pesar de que no lleguemos al acuerdo que él quiere, el hecho de que el niño desde pequeño se sienta escuchado y se sienta respetado, pues también le hace sentir persona desde chiquitito. No son personas ni tienen criterio a partir de los 14 o los 15, tienen criterio desde siempre. Lo que pasa es que sus criterios y los nuestros a veces pueden distanciarse, pero el hecho de enseñarles a conversar, lo que dice Linda, a tener esos espacios en los que nos expresemos de igual a igual y no sea yo mamá y tú el niño, sino que somos dos personas poniéndonos de acuerdo y hablando de las cosas, pues ayuda también mucho a encajar esa ansiedad desde el principio, a que también se resitúen los profesores y los padres y entiendan más a los niños y sepamos ponernos en el lugar de ellos, porque muchas veces es, bueno, como es un niño, voy a dárselo ya hecho. No, si los niños también, si nos sabemos poner en su lugar para explicarlo, lo van a entender todo. Entonces esos espacios sí, son vitales.
Y por complementar un poquito también la respuesta a la pregunta que dabas tú, tenemos técnicas desde el punto de vista psicológico que muchos años se desarrollaron con el trauma psicológico, que aplicado a este exceso de respuesta ansiosa o agresiva, que a lo mejor no hace falta, ¿no? en el momento, son muy eficaces, ¿no? Estilo técnicas de integración cerebral, EMDR. Son técnicas que tienen una eficacia muy probada. En los últimos años, yo que estoy viendo más a chicos superdotados y estoy aplicando medidas de este tipo que tradicionalmente usábamos con trauma psicológico, la verdad es que la respuesta es muy buena también.
Yeah, I agree.
Bueno, yo primero felicitarlas a las tres por la investigación y por tantos años de dedicación y después por la oportunidad de poderos escuchar personalmente. Os quería preguntar, en Estados Unidos Aquí en España ayer se comentó que tenemos una situación que según el sitio donde estemos, la región o la comunidad en la que estemos, se define la sobredotación o la alta capacidad de una forma o de otra. Quería saber en Estados Unidos cómo se define exactamente la sobredotación, si es igual en todos sitios o de qué manera se define, porque claro, el ceñirlo a lo mejor exclusivamente a tener un dato de un cociente intelectual de un número, y tener, digamos, la otra visión de decir, de hablar de talentos, de múltiples habilidades, de inteligencias múltiples. Claro, el campo se nos abre mucho y a nivel emocional también. Entonces, todo lo que estamos hablando de capacidades, de emociones, de hipersensibilidad, no solo lo encontramos en el niño o la niña que tenga un CI de más de 130, sino a lo mejor en un niño que es un talento creativo, un talento artístico, musical, un talento de otro tipo, por ver cómo se define allí. Muchas gracias.
There is none. There is no agreement. School districts each have a different definition.
NHC.
The National Association for Gifted Children defines giftedness as the top 10% of talent in a single domain. The Columbus Group that Anne and I and Annemarie Roeper belong to define giftedness as asynchronous development, and a lot of people like that one. Some people look at it as multiple intelligences. Some people look at it as task commitment and creativity. But it's not about the IQ specific cutoff. It's not about cutoff. IQ tests will underestimate abilities in a lot of people. So a child who's very smart in math may actually be 130 IQ, but doesn't test that high, especially the double exceptional children. Their IQ scores get lowered. So we don't use IQ. Only 13 states in the United States even use IQ scores in the state definition. IQ scores are not very popular. They're not popular in the US. But there's basically these two camps. And the one camp is the achievement camp. And they're only interested in the marks, the potential for fame. Will you make a difference in the world in your domain? Are you going to become eminent? And then the other group that are interested in the inner world, overexcitabilities, the heart of the child. Annemarie was all about heart, the emotions, the sensitivity, the moral sensitivity, the integrity. So those are the two basic camps, but they're not organized by state or region. They're not like that. In Anne's school, Anne has a school in California. They use asynchronous development as their basis for that school. There's another school that uses asynchronous development in Nova School in Washington. There's another school in Denver, Colorado, that uses asynchronous development.
All private schools, though.
Private schools, but a lot of public schools and school districts are using achievement. How high is the child's achievement test scores in mathematics, in reading? That's more important to a lot of public schools than IQ or sensitivity. They just want to know if they achieve, if they get good grades, and if they do well on achievement tests. So it varies tremendously. There's no no one definition. So how is it here in Spain?
Aquí el problema que tenemos, que yo creo que es uno de los grandes problemas, según las comunidades se define de formas diferentes. Hay comunidades donde se basan exclusivamente en el cociente intelectual y además a partir de 130. Y, por ejemplo, la comunidad donde yo vengo, que es Andalucía, ahí ha cambiado mucho la forma de identificar y se habla, digamos, yo siempre me gusta explicarlo como que el nombre es alta capacidad y tiene 3 apellidos diferentes, que es la sobredotación, el talento simple y el talento complejo. La sobredotación, la característica fundamental, se le pide, fijaros, percentiles por encima de 75, no estamos hablando ni de 90 ni de 80, de 75 en 7 áreas, en 7 habilidades: razonamiento lógico, numérico, verbal, memoria, espacial, creatividad. Talento simple, cuando en una sola tiene un percentil a partir de 95. Un chico o una chica que es muy bueno en una cosa, un talento matemático, un talento verbal, un talento espacial. Y talento complejo cuando tiene 3 áreas con percentiles por encima de 80. Si, por ejemplo, son razonamiento lógico, verbal y memoria, se le denomina talento complejo académico, porque tiene, digamos, los 3 pilares básicos para tener un desarrollo académico estupendo. O si, por ejemplo, son creatividad espacial y percepción, es talento complejo artístico. Claro, si se define de esa forma, sí que es verdad que nos permite luego dar una respuesta educativa en el caso de los colegios. Aparte hablo de la familia y del entorno, pero en el caso del cole se especifica mucho, o se debe especificar mucho, la respuesta educativa. No es lo mismo lo que tendré que hacer con un alumno con sobredotación, que a lo mejor al ser bueno en todo perfectamente puede estar en otro curso, porque es bueno en todas las áreas, que con un talento simple matemático, que haré una intervención específica, o con un talento complejo artístico creativo. Yo es que el tema del cociente intelectual, y los que estéis aquí o que hayáis pasado por informe o hayáis pasado pruebas, ¿no? Sabemos que el WIS, la escala de Wechsler, que son las que más se suelen pasar, un CI es un resultado global de una serie de habilidades. Entonces, claro, el tener un 130 no te asegura que seas bueno en todo. Puedes tener un 130 porque tengas un razonamiento perceptivo altísimo, pero las demás áreas estás en la media. Entonces, claro, lo que pasa es que yo entiendo que después a nivel práctico es muy difícil hacer una intervención en los colegios, porque claro, ya no estamos hablando de una respuesta educativa o de 2, estamos hablando, a ver, de un derecho que tiene cada niño y de atenderlo también en función de sus características individuales. Pero hay mucha diferencia de donde yo vengo, de Sevilla, de Andalucía, que se define así, y por ejemplo en Madrid, que si tiene 130 y si no tiene 130, si tiene 129... que en Andalucía pasaba antes eso, tú decías, tiene 129, ¡ay, qué pena! No se puede hacer nada, ya no es nada, afuera. Entonces,
I would like to address what they do in Madrid. That's wrong.
Claro,
It's
es un
wrong.
error, es un error.
What I do for a living is test children. We've tested 6,400 children on IQ tests. There's something called the error of measurement. The error of measurement says that if you test 129 and you take the exact same test 2 days later, you could test 133. And the child that tests 130 could take the same test 2 days later and get a 126. Without understanding the error of measurement, it is inappropriate, wrong thinking to say 130 is gifted and 129 is not gifted. That is not psychometrically defensible. The other thing that you need to know is that there are new IQ tests. The new IQ tests have many factors. They have 4 factors or they have 5 factors. The more factors there are in an IQ test, the weaker the full-scale score is a unitary construct. The full-scale IQ score is not an appropriate way to identify gifted children. If you're using an IQ test, if the child is gifted in one composite score, like verbal comprehension, or perceptual reasoning, or fluid reasoning, one composite is enough to be considered gifted. A full-scale score is not accurate anymore. And I just finished a chapter on this in which I said, it's time to put the full-scale IQ score to rest. It no longer serves us. It no longer is the right tool to identify the gifted, and it is no longer appropriate to use cutoff scores on a full-scale IQ score that's meaningless when a child is high in one composite and average in another. It's meaningless. So I hope people will listen to that.
That's what Nueva does.
Yo
What?
quiero,
Nueva does that.
Yeah.
respecto a eso, me gustaría decir una cosa de aquí, porque, por ejemplo, las diferencias que decía Teresa de que puede haber en las comunidades, a mí me ha pasado estando en el cole, como directora del cole, y sabiendo lo que sabía. Lo que pasa es que, bueno, actúas como directora y es lo que tienes que hacer, y no es tu competencia entrar en otros ámbitos, pero me ha pasado el tener una alumna en la que los padres sentían que tenía alta capacidad y nuestra normativa no permitía que si esa niña iba bien académicamente y no mostraba ningún tipo de problema académico, si no mostraba ningún tipo de problema académico, no había lugar para el diagnóstico. Y no había lugar porque académicamente iba bien y la respuesta era para hacer algo académico, y como no había lugar, pues no había. Entonces eran conversaciones un poco de besugo, pero al final, por lo menos, en esas conversaciones llegamos al acuerdo de, vale, no va a haber identificación, pero al menos vamos a dar una respuesta oportuna para que esta niña encuentre satisfacción y pueda empezar a sentirse más cómoda en clase y más a gusto y más feliz. Pero es que a veces la propia normativa de las comunidades no lo permite. Y, por ejemplo, ahora, en cambio, hace un par de semanas me llamaron del País Vasco, porque, por eso os decía antes, la importancia de que los profesores y los padres mováis. Hace un año contactó una madre conmigo porque leyó lo de la doble excepcionalidad en Internet y me pidió hacer algo. Y bueno, pues yo estaba con mis temas, pero le dije, bueno, moralmente, si tú quieres que iniciemos algo, vamos a hacerlo. Y a lo largo del tiempo hemos ido contándonos cosas y ha llegado un momento en el que, bueno, ella quería pensar en hacer una asociación de doble excepcionalidad, muchas cosas. Y hace 2 semanas me llamaron del País Vasco y me dijeron, queremos empezar a hacer un protocolo de identificación para identificación en screening y queremos tener en cuenta la doble excepcionalidad. Queremos que vengas a formarnos y que nos lo cuentes. Claro, cuando una comunidad autónoma te dice eso, es como, bien, ojos que se abren, pero claro, es algo puntual, pero ha sido la iniciativa de una madre. Con eso quiero decir que el querer mueve montañas y que tenemos que ir todos a una para que eso se consiga, para que esa identificación sea igualitaria, y porque no puede, es una crueldad. Ser un niño de alta capacidad en el País Vasco va a ser mejor que serlo en Cantabria, pues no me parece. Me parece que deberíamos intentar que todos tuviéramos la misma respuesta. Pero para que veáis eso, esas diferencias que decías que son brutales. Al final, crear conciencia, yo con mi consejería he estado hablando para que tuvieran eso en cuenta, pero bueno, en Cantabria sí que yo tengo la sensación de que vamos muy, muy atrás y bueno, por lo menos ya la conocen y han dicho que sí, que la entienden y que la comparten. Entonces veamos si cada vez es más real.
Vamos a hacer como la compañera de antes, aprovechando que tenemos el micrófono, vamos a preguntar otra cosita que estábamos aquí debatiendo las dos, hablando un poquito. ¿Qué pruebas o qué test?
Before you raise a second question, how many of you are psychologists? Wow. How many of you give IQ tests? Okay. I would like those of you who give IQ tests to, I would like to send you this chapter that I just wrote. And In the chapter, I talk about both ends of the curve and how in the United States, if a child is designated intellectually disabled in one school district, that child is entitled to services in every school district in the United States. But the same thing happens in the United States as happens in Spain when you're gifted. You can be gifted in one school and not gifted in the next school. You can be gifted in one region and not gifted in the next region. And I make the case that gifted is legitimate special education and deserves to be taken as seriously as special education on the other end. So that if a child is identified as gifted, that giftedness is real and goes with them to every single place they live. That's in the chapter. So I will give you, I'll put my email address on we'll share that, so I can send you that chapter. Your other question, Teresa.
La segunda pregunta, verá, y haciendo alusión a eso, un breve comentario, porque a nosotros nos ha pasado en Sevilla, a lo mejor hemos recibido familias que han venido de Madrid. En Madrid le dijeron que no eran, y en Andalucía eran, y al revés. Niños que iban evaluados los trasladaban a la familia, a Madrid o a cualquier otro sitio, y allí ya no lo eran. Yo me enrollo mucho, pero lo voy a hacer muy rápido. La pregunta en concreto era que si utilizabais las escalas de Wessler, el WIS 5, el WIS 4 para evaluar, y meto un inciso mientras lo piensa Linda. Yo insisto mucho a los papás, de verdad, porque en Andalucía tenemos lo que tenemos gracias a las asociaciones. Yo formé parte del comité de expertos, ¿no?, que elaboró porque a raíz de cambiar la normativa se elaboró incluso un protocolo de detección y para de forma sistemática evaluar a todos los alumnos que entraban en primero de primaria y en primero de secundaria. Ese protocolo ha hecho que se vaya dando visibilidad, muchísima más visibilidad a las altas capacidades, pero de una forma descomunal. ¿Qué ocurre también? Que ese cambio de definición del CI tuvieron una responsabilidad y un peso enorme en las asociaciones de padres, que llevaban luchando muchísimo tiempo. Las asociaciones de padres, con expertos, con gente preparada, que se sabía que las nuevas teorías de las inteligencias hacia donde van es hacia buscar una multiplicidad, una pluralidad, el ver que todos tenemos una serie de habilidades, llámalo inteligencia, habilidades, competencias, como lo queramos llamar, pero que lo importante es saber los puntos fuertes de cada uno y poder atender y poder enriquecer. Pero que yo os animo a todos los que son padres y profesionales que luchen porque se consiguen las cositas y sobre todo que ahora mismo hay una normativa que respalda ya ese tema. Antes no había nada. Yo antes iba a explicar o iba con un informe y era buena, ya viene esta aquí a decir que los niños que son muy listos, qué suerte, ¿no? Si son listos no les vamos a dar nada más. Pero ya hay una normativa y se consideran, como tú decías, a los del de la campana de Gauss, alumnos con necesidades específicas de apoyo educativo. Con lo cual eso hace que tengan derecho a tener una respuesta educativa concreta. Nuestra pregunta era si el test era el WIS 5.
Yeah, thank you. It's true. In the United States, parents made all the difference. When parents say our child has special needs, the parents get it to happen. It's parent power. It's important. Stick together, work together. One snowflake doesn't do much, but a whole lot of snowflakes can close down a road.
Also, it's legal to homeschool in the U.S. and in California, where I'm from, there's no gifted programs to speak of in the schools, in the public schools, and there is a huge network of gifted homeschoolers, and they're working together to educate their children because school was so destructive for the child, and luckily, it's legal.
Yeah.
But were you asking about the test?
Sí, vuelve.
Si utilizaban el WIS, las escalas de Wechsler, el 5 ya, el WIS 5, o qué escalas de inteligencia son las que se utilizan allí para evaluar.
I like the WISC-4 better for gifted. We developed extended norms, and we're trying to create extended norms for the WISC-5 for gifted and highly gifted and exceptionally gifted children. But I don't know. I mean, they're not out yet. They may not be out for 5 years. But the WISC-4 has extended norms, and I think it's a better tool for the gifted, the WISC-4. Yeah.
But the schools are using achievement testing because you can do group tests and they don't put the money
Right.
into individual or even IQ tests unless the child is really below grade level, not for gifted.
Pruebas de grupo a todo el grupo, ¿no? A toda la clase. De competencia, de aptitudes.
Achievement. They're testing school
Los logros,
subjects,
vale.
not IQ.
Yeah. Math, reading.
Hola, buenas. A mí me sensibilizó mucho este chico que acaba de hablar, porque yo tengo, bueno, mis dos hijos están diagnosticados, no, identificados de altas capacidades, y el pequeño desde los 3 años se desmaya, o sea, bruscamente cae redondo y luego me dicen que tiene el sistema nervioso sensible. A raíz de eso empezamos a hacer estudios, a llevarlo a neurólogos, hasta que al final, bueno, termino diagnosticándolo de TDAH, diagnosticándolo de sobredotación, pero a lo que voy sobre todo es que él tiene un sufrimiento interno grandísimo, con 13 años. Que claro, este chico que estaba hablando, yo lo comprendo perfectamente y a raíz de que lo veía, que, o sea, ni dormía, ni comía, le dolía la barriga, por ejemplo, las etiquetas, la ropa también le molestaba, escogía, por ejemplo, alimentos como muy puros, verdura, fruta. Pues yo hice distintas terapias, o sea, me puse a estudiar a raíz de que a mi hijo le pasaron todas estas cosas. Y entonces hice, por ejemplo, también el método Silva, de control mental, y ese a mí me ayudó mucho a conectar lo que es el hemisferio derecho con el hemisferio izquierdo, para mí, ¿no? Y entonces practicar muchas visualizaciones creativas. Y entonces yo lo practiqué con mi hijo, y le hago por las noches visualizaciones creativas, desarrollando en él como una relajación. En 5 minutos se queda dormido y le viene genial. Y luego también hice otras terapias que son conexión con el ser, que es para conectar con tu propia esencia, ¿no? Para identificarte lo que tú eres y lo que quieres conseguir en la vida. Y entonces a mí todas esas cosas me van ayudando en mi día a día como madre. Pero, sin embargo, choco con el sistema, que yo no he hecho culpa ni a profesores ni a nadie, choco con el sistema porque, por ejemplo, lo riñen muchísimo, es que eres inquieto, es que estás en babia, es que eres tonto, es que no te enteras de nada, y a día de hoy tiene un fracaso absoluto en todas las asignaturas. Entonces, nosotros como padre estamos como muy frustrados e impotentes de no saber qué camino seguir, porque nosotros no estamos enfrentados al sistema, ni estamos en contra de nada que sea educativo ni académico, pero sí que es verdad que en las escuelas o en los institutos tendría que haber una figura terapeuta para mí, terapeuta de integración sensorial, que también hice el curso, porque ya no sé cuántos cursos hice, vamos, hice tantos que ya no me caben en la cabeza, que los ayudara a estos chicos a no tener que enfadarse y sentirse tan mal que se tengan que desconectar. O sea, el mío cae redondo, ¿eh? En cuanto supera el nivel ya de estrés, se desmaya y cae redondo. Y se puede matar, o sea, porque depende de dónde le dé el desmayo. Entonces yo creo fundamental crear una figura de educación emocional, una figura de terapeuta o lo que sea, en cada instituto para ayudar a estos chicos por arriba o por abajo, de la campana de Gauss, es que da igual. Lo que se trata es de conectar con ellos. Y es complicado, es muy complicado. Bueno, yo no sé lo que pensáis sobre esto, pero el sufrimiento está en todo.
He's double exceptional. Will you answer that one? Because he's double exceptional. And what can she do?
But she's talking about having someone in the school.
Yeah.
Es que me está diciendo Linda que lo que le estás contando es doble excepcionalidad que tienes. No sé. What do you want to tell her? Because I'm going to tell her about the possibility of having someone in the school. But if you want to tell her something about what to do as a mother,
this is a child who is double exceptional, twice exceptional, and needs to have an evaluation of the issues. And we have something in the United States, I don't know whether you have it here, we call it a Section 504 plan for handicapped individuals that requires a certain accommodations in school. Is there nothing like that here?
sí, en la escuela.
Required by law.
Required by law. It's the protection of handicapped individuals, nothing in the schools?
We have different programs in the school to answer the problems that they have, their needs, and we have teams to do the identification.
But does the region or is there
Yeah,
any?
in each region, we have it in each region.
Each region? 'Cause
Although the law is different and the competencies of their teams are different.
But this child needs to be protected. This is a child that they need to have a special plan to protect him from getting so stressed that he faints. That type of situation, there would be a study team and there would be a place for the child to go to talk with a therapist at school or to calm down in a library or somewhere to be able to cope better.
Aquí tenemos equipos de, bueno, sabes que dependiendo del tamaño de los colegios o institutos, hay orientadores, que suelen ser la mayor parte de ser psicólogos, y luego también aquellos colegios que no son lo suficientemente grandes son atendidos por equipos de zona que cubren diferentes colegios o institutos a los que se acude para hacer las identificaciones y para orientar a los profesores para la respuesta educativa. El problema, por ejemplo, también es que en 2001, que fue la primera vez que yo coincidí con Teresa en un congreso en Santiago de Compostela, conocimos a una chica que trabajaba en un equipo público del gobierno en ese momento de Galicia, que atendía solamente la alta capacidad. Entonces, claro, cuando yo lo oí era como, de hecho hoy en Cantabria tenemos equipos variados, el único equipo específico que tenemos es de atención temprana, para niños que están escolarizados en educación infantil, pero el resto son equipos genéricos. El problema es, un terapeuta por cole, pues quizás sea una respuesta más allá, pero la posibilidad de que en las comunidades autónomas hubiera un equipo de orientación específico para la alta capacidad, a mí me parece que es algo factible, que no es nada que pidamos que esté lejos de algo que se pueda hacer y que sí que daría respuesta muy concreta, porque el problema hoy por hoy de muchas de las personas que están en los equipos es que tampoco están bien preparadas para la alta capacidad. Hay gente, sí que la hay, claro, y también depende mucho de la inquietud de cada uno y lo que estudie, pero si hubiera un equipo específico, pues se solventarían un montón y los profesores también tendrían más formación. Si movemos a las consejerías, también las asesorías de los centros de formación de profesorado empezarían a hacer más cosas. Pero como propuesta, si lo lleváis a las comunidades autónomas y todos presionamos en esa línea, igual dentro de 5 años tenemos equipos específicos en todas las comunidades. ¿Ya lo tenéis? ¿Ves? Pues a presionar. Yo estoy en lo mío, yo en Cantabria estoy ahí hormiguita, hormiguita.
I know we're probably at a stopping point, but I just want to add that when Raquel started her research, No one was interested in the gifted. And she looked at double exceptional, where people had more sympathy of the child, where there's big differences between the things they do well and the things they don't do well. That is an area that is growing in interest worldwide. And I think it will be very difficult for you to get, even in 5 years, specialists on the gifted. But I think you should follow what Raquel did and try to get specialists on twice exceptional, on gifted children with learning disabilities, because that's something people can understand, that those children need support. If you're gifted but you can't read, or you're gifted and you can't do math, or you're gifted and you can't tie your shoes or ride a bicycle, or you're gifted and there's something you can't do that's really tremendous difference, that's something I think in 5 years you could get a specialist to help children who are gifted and who are having difficulties, like you did, like you found that population. And that was 15 years ago. I think that would work.
Muy bien, una mañana intensa. Por si acaso, cuando empezáis a aplaudir no se me oye, quería dar un aviso, y es que las personas que tengáis la comida, que la vayáis a hacer aquí en el Calatrava, con la organización del Congreso, salgáis por esta puerta de mi izquierda a vuestra derecha, porque está preparada aquí. ¿De acuerdo? Muchas gracias a las tres.